Naropa was an 11th century Indian yoga. He was walking along the street and he met an older woman. And she knew he was one of the greatest Buddhist scholars in India. And she asks him, "Do you understand the words in the large book he was holding?" And he said, "Yes." And she laughed and she danced with glee. Then she asked if he understood the meaning of the teaching in the book. And wanting to please her, he said, "Yes." And she became outraged and called him a hypocrite and a liar. That encounter changed his life. He knew he only understood the words, but not necessarily the profound inner meaning of the teaching. Now we do this. We read something and we go, I understand. There we go. I understand. It means this. Because we look at the words and we go, the surface level is all there is. But the reality is when we start looking at metaphysical stuff, we start looking at the teachings of New Thought, of science of mind, it goes way deeper than what it appears at the beginning, right? So the topic today is Let Go, a new way of being together. Okay. Did you know that there is a whole list of what we believe on the CSL website? We believe, and it gives us 11 things, statements that say what we believe in as the Centers for Spiritual Living and what we teach. And so I went through them and I came across number 10, and I went like, it's not that one. And I realized this would be a perfect example, or perfect lesson, or perfect words for today's talk. So here they are. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. So on the surface, it all makes sense, right? Okay, we got goodness, we got loving kindness, we got giving, we've got life, and everybody gets it. But maybe if we go a little deeper, we'll see something a little deeper or different. And I would say, I'm going to ask, do you guys all agree that we should all be, have goodness in our hearts, and we should all be loving and kind?
Yes.
That everybody in the world should be giving?
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But then that thing called life happens, and your brother-in-law says something that hurts your feelings, and now it's like, right? Or your kid does something and you're like, don't do it, don't do it. You did it, and now you're all messed up. Okay, let's put you back together again. So where is the loving and kindness in that? Now, I had a friend of mine said, well, I get really angry, but I get angry because I care so much. Yes, that is why we get angry. We get angry because our thoughts go through our head of, I'm out of control, it's not fair, it's happening to me. Think about it when you get angry. Those are 3 thoughts that are probably going through your brain. That's not in a place of loving and kindness. That's not a place of givingness. That's a place of what's happening and I'm out of control, right? So I was reading a book. I just started it. It's by Mel Robbins. It's called Let Them. Anybody hear of it? Good, we got a couple. It's relatively new from my understanding, but it's on Oprah's best-selling list. So it's worth picking up. But anyway, Mel talks about, she starts the book off with a story about her son, and her son's going to prom. And now she's got daughters that are older, and those daughters, they were like prepared months ahead of time. They had their dresses, they had the limos, they were all set to go. So when the day came, everything went real smooth. Now her son, on the other hand, well, he didn't do that. He was like, 48 hours before, hey mom, I need a tux. And she's like, what? And so she gets really in control, and she gets into solution mode, and she makes things happen, and they go, and they're all ready to go, and she gets a corsage for his date, which he didn't know he was going to take until like 24 hours beforehand. And she doesn't understand because her daughter's gonna, they were all scheduled out. Anyway, so the son says, Mom, don't take the corsage, because my date said she doesn't want one. And of course, Mel goes, but it's prom. Everybody gets a corsage on prom, right? It's like tradition. So she like sneaks it in her purse and she takes it anyway, even though her son told her not to. So she gets to the picture taking, and there's lots of confusion going on. And the corsage, actually, the girl had made her own. And so it was really awkward when Mel kind of forced it on, and no one was really happy, but they did it because they wanted to appease Mom. I know, I've been in that situation. And then it starts to rain. And she hears the kids, or like 20 of them get together, like, where are we going to go for dinner tonight? And she's like, what? It's prom night? There's 20 of you and you haven't made a reservation? So she gets her phone out and she's starting to figure it out. And her daughter pulls her aside and goes, Mom, let them. And she's like, what do you mean, let them? And she goes, it's their prom. It's their life. It's their experience. If they want to walk in the rain, if they want to go to a restaurant that they haven't got reservations, if they want to go to prom all wet because they've been walking in the rain, let them. And Mel, that was the premise of her story, her book, is that at some point in time that shifted her thought process of it's not her job to take care of the details of a person who's over 18's life. Well, when they're kids, when they're little ones, they have a little bit of different obligation. But we're not in charge of making all of the details happen for somebody else's life, so let them. But what about that brother-in-law that said something that hurt your feelings? Let them. Let him say his hurtful things, because we don't have to take it personally. We can allow him to have his space, to be who he is, to have his opinion, and we don't have to fix it. Can you imagine how empowering we would be, or empowered we would be, if we didn't feel obligated to make you happy, to make sure you like me, to make sure that your life is going as it should, in my opinion? Wouldn't that be freeing? Let them. Now, there's love, right? And we all need love. And we go to the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we know that at the bottom base, once our food and shelter and sleeping is all taken care of, then we go to that next level, and that's the being safe. We all want to feel safe. But beyond feeling safe, there's this sense of wanting to belong, to be loved. Every one of us want to feel like we belong, and that we're safe, and that we are loved. Right? Anybody not? So that takes us to, if we know that the people that we care about, brother-in-law, son, husband, wife, best friend, all they want is to feel like they belong and love, why can't we give that to them? Doesn't that take us back to what I just said about one of our main principles about goodness, loving kindness, and givingness? Okay, but it gets really hard when someone says something that is absolutely ridiculously wrong, right? So another great book. You've all heard of the 4 Agreements? Okay, if you haven't, I would recommend it. It's one of those foundation books, because this talks about 4 agreements that we make with ourselves, not with anybody else, that allows us to have the freedom to be happy. So the one I circled up there is don't take it personal, right? So if you've ever gone into the grocery store and you've gone through the cashier and the cashier is just like cranky and rude, and you're like, do you think you have anything to do with them being cranky and rude to you? No, it has nothing to do with you. They've had an entire day of whatever they're going through that they are just being cranky and rude. You just happen to be the person standing there that gets the results of their mood. Not personal. Now, if you can make it not personal, does it feel different? And my goal is always to make them smile. It's fun going to the grocery store with my husband because he's just funny. And so we'll play this little game where we kind of banter back and forth and it's ridiculous, and inevitably we can get the cashier's smile, which is fun. Right? So don't take it personal, and that's the big thing. And how do we do that? How do we not take it personal? Well, I think it goes back to mindfulness. It goes back to, who are you? Are you paying attention to your reactions to things? So mindfulness is like a big buzzword right now. I think for like the last several years, everyone's talking about being mindful. So what does it mean to be mindful? It means to pay attention to right here and right now. Right here and right now. So sometimes, and it works really well if you're like anxious or worried or scared, to get into your body. And I always start with just touching my fingers. Try it. Just touch your fingers. When you touch your fingers, aren't you right here and right now? You're not thinking about breakfast. You're not thinking about what you're going to do this afternoon. You're thinking about, what does it feel like for my thumbs to touch my index finger? Brings you right here. Takes everything else away. Once you're here in your body, now you can start to think and feel and like, well, what am I feeling? How emotionally am I feeling? If my brother-in-law has said something that has upset me, I can go, okay, let him say that, but why is it upsetting me? Let's pretend that he's not even involved. What about that upset me? Oh, well, he was questioning my integrity. Okay, so why does it bother me when somebody questions my integrity? I know, it's deep. But through that depth, that's when we're on our spiritual path. Okay, so here's another thing that comes to mind is your spiritual path is called a spiritual path because it's not a destination. Have you ever thought of, well, when I get spiritual, I'll be there. But that's not the reality. The reality is that is a path that we will be on for the rest of our lives until, and who knows, we're not here anymore. So who knows if the path goes on. I don't know. I haven't done that part yet. But right here and right now, I'm on a path, and I will continue to walk that path until I die. But along with being spiritual, no matter how spiritual I get, I'm still human. Right? And with being a human, we have thoughts. It's part of the process. We have emotions, again, part of the process. And we have reactions to the thoughts and the feelings or the emotions. Right? So we need to be aware of what it is. And then when you get mad at yourself, or you get mad or angry or frustrated or fearful, okay, let's be gentle and kind with ourselves as we would be with anybody else, because when we talk about goodness, loving kindness, and givingness, it's not just about what I can give to you, it's about what can I give to me. Can I be kind, loving, and kind to myself when I do something that makes no sense? Because believe it or not, we like to think that we are logical beings. We're not. We're very emotional-based beings. Even the most logical of us are emotional-based beings. Okay, so moving on. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Yes, I do. Okay. I changed my mind. It's a long quote, a lot of words on one slide. But Ernest Holmes, he's such brilliant words. So it says, love overcomes both hate and fear. However, love does not overcome hate and fear through controversy, argument, or force. But we would like it to, right? I'm stopping the quote for a moment. Because what's interesting is that if I somehow in my brain, I think that if I argue the point that love is the way to do it, then everybody will agree with me if I'm loud enough. Right? But that doesn't really happen, because what I've noticed is the louder I get, the less people listen. Have you noticed that?
Yep.
Okay, so going on. But by subtle power of transformation, transmutation, there we go, and sublimation. It is an invisible, It is invisible in its essence, but apparent through its act. As light overcomes the darkness, as the presence of heat causes the coolness of the room to change until it's warm and comfortable. So the radiant action of love and peace disperses, boy, the words just aren't coming out today. Fear, hate, and confusion. So you can read it, so go with me. So I have a wonderful chaplain friend. She's amazing. Her name is Kathy. And so Kathy, we get together every Friday and we talk about chaplain. I'm a hospice chaplain by trade. And we talk about hospice chaplain, which you don't really talk about hospice chaplain things with non-hospice chaplains because it doesn't make any sense. I come to you, go, oh yeah, we had people die today. You go, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it was a good thing. It doesn't quite make sense, does it? Anyway, so she comes to, we were at the meeting and she's talking about how she walked in this space. She had a person that was actively dying and the family was in chaos. They were arguing, they were fighting, there was lots of hostility going on. And she said she walked in and it really wasn't a place for her to like go do prayer. And it really wasn't a place at that moment for her to have a conversation because there was so much hostility and anger and frustration. So she just sat and was in the space for a while. And then she got up and she went to the kitchen and she started doing the dishes because they needed to be done. And when she came back, there was a calmness to the space. And so she started to have a conversation with them. And by the time she left, she had done prayer, she was hugging everyone goodbye, and they were at peace. So is Kathy magical? Well, yes, she is. But that's not what happened. What happened is what we call the mirror effect, right? And it's a psychological thing. And so what happens, our brains are programmed that we mirror what we see and what we feel. And you can try this. It's a sales technique where if somebody's sitting in front of you and they've got their arms crossed and they're leaning back, if you cross your arms and you lean back, you take a few moments and then you uncross your arms, they'll mirror you because you're mirroring them. And if you lean forward, subconsciously or unconsciously, unconsciously, they'll lean forward too. Try it, it's interesting. An easier one is just to walk and smile at somebody. And when you smile at somebody, 90% of the time they're going to smile back because it's a mirror response. Another example, if you hang out with the people and you change one of your words, like the word like, I just noticed I did that, like, or man, or dude, and you start saying that a lot, you'll notice the people around you will start saying that, or a hand gesture. You'll notice that the people will start doing that around you, and it works the other way too. If you hang out with people that start saying a certain word, you will start saying that certain word, and now you'll notice because I've said it. So this is what happens when we are in a place of love and we are in a place of peace. When we enter into the space around us, just like the light, when you turn it on in the dark, it brings light to the dark. Just like when you turn the heater on, it brings warmth to the cold. It can do nothing else because that is the way it works. Make sense? So the question is how? How do we get ourselves to that place? Well, I've already told you. But let's read another quote from Ernest Trump. Let's see how well I do on this one. So sometimes my dyslexic eyes don't want to do what they do, right? Okay, here we go. Love overcomes the little differences that we have and find a point of reconciliation with others. Love creates tolerance and human understanding, without which we become really divided against ourselves, and without which we almost unconsciously become filled with criticism, condemnation, and false judgment. No one can be happy or enjoy the greatest fulfillment in life until he has come to see the most people try to do the best they can. And when we are able to reach out beyond the differences and the coldness of life, reach through all the intolerance and unkindness, only then do we meet that divine center which forever established within every person. And that was kind of what Alan was singing about earlier, right? That within all of us, we have that divinity. Within all of us, we have that kindness. We have that compassion. We have that love. And we can share it, but only if we work through our own stuff. So how do we do it? Don't take things personal. Get into being mindful of where you're at. Pay attention to the now and not worry about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. And I'm not saying don't plan. Of course, planning is everything, but a plan means nothing because life changes all the time, right? And remember that spirituality is not a destination. It's a path. And we get to take one step at a time, moving forward through what we call life and our human experience.